Hi, it's been a while since I posted anything on YouTube, and the reason for that is that the YouTube Studio app just took up too much space on my phone. So long story short, this is the temporary solution. This camera isn't particularly a good camera and the sound isn't particularly good, but we just have to live with that. So I want to apologize to the people with bad eyesight and bad hearing. I know that this is not the quality I should have had. Well, today I want to talk about something that we can start with looking as a little cartoon. And I know this camera is probably switching left and right, but I will read this cartoon, so if you just look at this cartoon for a little while and I will read it to you. I know you feel rejected right now, says the dung beetle to the dung. But you are important to me. Look at me, you are a beautiful piece of shit. And that cartoon is so typical the humor of divorcees in Norway. So that is what I want to talk about today. Divorcees, to be divorced in Norway, to start up new relationships after your divorce in Norway, and how complicated that can be communication-wise, and that complicated communication does not equal that you need couples therapy. It doesn't equal that there is something wrong with you. And as usual, I'm going to use my own personal experience with this, but I'm also, of course, basing it on different data. If you are new to my channel and have not yet seen me here before, I am Susanna Natobro. I am at the moment uføretrygdet or retired. In Norway that means something specific. That means that I have a duty to actually sit here and keep up my skills and try to get back into work. The work I am trying to get back into is what I call multisystemic analysis and supervision. På norsk så kaller jeg det for overordnet systemanalyse, and by that I mean something specific. It's not a formal title, it's a descriptive title, and that means, I can talk more about it in other videos, but that means that I can supervise and analyze everyone in this country because I have an overview over the Norwegian project. So I know, and I have known since end of 2016, beginning of 2017, I have been a multisystemic analyst, and I know how you shall think in Norway. So if you are not sure, and I don't mean you as an individual, I mean your workplace. If you are an employer, it can be public services, it can also be private companies, but I am specializing in the public systems. If you are a public system, I am here, not available at the moment because I'm uføretrygdet, but I am here to help you make sure that you are actually doing what you shall according to the Norwegian culture, society, history, laws, and our place in the global society. So that just basically means that I know a lot about Norway and that I have an overview, I have a bird's eye view. So I can help you stay inside of the law, I can help you understand better how to do your job more effectively. That does not mean that I can do your job, but I can help you from a bird's eye view where I sit and look at other things at the same time, and then I can say that, okay, if you change this little thing in your department, that can make it all run a bit more smoothly, because then other departments, other services, other companies will change accordingly. So yeah, that was a very short introduction. It's a bit difficult job to explain to people, because people aren't used to that somebody on my high level actually exists in this country, but yes, we do. Well, okay, so I'm going to talk about communication between divorcees on the dating market, starting new relationships. One of the most common jokes you can read on Tinder in my age group, now I'm soon 46, but when I divorced I was 37, so around 40, middle-aged. One of the most common jokes on the dating apps in Norway is that you are used goods, that you are second-hand, that you need refurbishment. And it's so common that it's kind of boring. That it's kind of, yeah, I know, dude. There is 200 other men out there saying the exact same joke on Tinder. But does that mean there is anything wrong with that joke? No. The reason why divorcees joke like that is because a divorce actually is kind of hard. No matter why you were divorced, if you were the person initiating the divorce or you were the person being broken up with, if you agreed between you to divorce, or if it was violence and abuse happening, or if it was cheating, or whatever it was, I'm gonna take off the sound here. No matter what, why, when and where and with whom, to divorce is a pretty heavy thing. To very young people who has never been married, it might not seem like breaking up is something heavy to people. Oh, but you didn't like him, so what's the problem? Oh, but he was abusive, so what's the problem? No, but when you are an adult and you have been married for a while, even though if it's only for 1 year, there is a certain set of things you have to do in Norway when you divorce. So even if you're very happy, I have heard about people who actually throw a divorce party together. So they had a wedding together and then they have a divorce party together, and they are the best of friends and they celebrate their divorce and they invite friends and family and so on. So even when you are really happy about your decision to divorce, it's still kind of heavy thing, because you have to go through these formal things according to the law. So you have to fill out the forms. Norway is a country that is based on documentation and registries and archives. So you have to fill out forms and you have to deliver this there and this there. And you have to, if you have children together, you have to go to the family services and you have to talk about, the state has to have a finger in that too. We always, in Norway, the state, and even if you are just cohabitating, or even if you were just boyfriend-girlfriend and never even cohabitated or had children together, there is a certain set of things you just have to go through in Norway when you're an adult and you are breaking up, because this is Norway. The state is everywhere. They want to watch you, everything you do. So you can try to get out of it and to kind of live on the outside of society, but that's not possible in Norway, people. I can promise you, it's not possible in Norway to live in any kind of way of capacity where the state isn't constantly having an eye on you. That's just how it is in Norway. That's actually Norway. Some people, I can talk about that in another video, But some people see that as some kind of invasion into their private life. But the thing is, when we go hundreds of years back and see how Norway formed as a country, we are formed on documentation, people. We are formed on being on lists and in registries and in archives. So no matter how much you try, you can't escape the Norwegian state. Can't fight the state. Okay, yeah. I think it is a bit difficult to talk to all kinds of audiences at the same time in my videos, and that's kind of what my job entails. I should be able to talk to all kinds of audiences at the same time, because people have so wildly, inside of Norway, we have so wildly different views on what it means to be Norwegian. But basically, Norway is built on a bunch of papers. So if you are on the list as a Norwegian, you are a Norwegian. That's, yeah, so what you feel and think and what your buddies are saying and what your haters are saying, if you are on the list and you are documented and you are in the archive, you are Norwegian. That's just how it is. Okay, divorcees. Where was I? Yeah, I talk so much that I have no idea where I was. Well, divorcees. Humor, yes. So, my personal experience was that I divorced my ex-husband Sverre during 2017, and it was a bit complicated situation, so it lasted, I think we were finished with the divorce, that it was fully finalized in spring 2019. Ideally it should have been finalized in 2018, but whatever, it took some time. And then in 2018 I met my ex-boyfriend, and that was a very interesting experience, because when I met my new boyfriend in 2018, something that was very normal and typical with him and very prominent with him was these kinds of statements as in that cartoon. And in some situations he was just joking and using it as humor, because yeah, divorce is a heavy thing. We use humor, and we will of course use the same humor all over the board, because that's just natural. So sometimes he used it as humor, and sometimes he actually meant it, because he sounded like he meant it, because it is sad to be divorced, and especially if you didn't actually want to be divorced, or if it was, if you're not one of the people who throw a party together with your ex to celebrate the divorce, you will be sad. It's just normal to grieve it. It's just normal. So sometimes my ex-boyfriend, he said things that indicated that he was like this pile of shit, and that I, when talking like that dungbill and calling him a beautiful pile of shit, that I was actually doing something good. That is expected, that if you are dating a divorcee, you will hear them be sad and grieve, and then you as the new partner will step in and hug them and tell them that you love them, so it will be okay. But what I have seen later on, as time went by, I realized that there was something wrong there. That when my ex-boyfriend, his name is Sigurd, everybody knows. So when Sigurd was saying these very, very typical expected things, and when he said them in situations where it was very normal to not interpret it as humor, but to interpret it as an actual expression of sadness, after a while it turned out that I don't think he is. I don't think he is sad at all. I don't think there's a bid for connection there. I don't think there's... He seems like he's talking, but kind of not to get any kind of relationship with me. It was a very weird thing. You know, he was saying things, but not as in him wanting me to answer him, or he was just over there and saying things, and he didn't want me to come closer and hug him, or, you know, say something kind, or he was just over there and saying these things, and I should stay over here. And I was like, what? You know, I'm your new partner. I'm kind of meant to come over here and give you a hug, and to kind of say, you know, to say that I love you. And one of the my most used examples online is when I was told by Sigurd that he was feeling very lonely, and I actually sent him on a normal day. This wasn't his birthday or any kind of, you know, it's just a normal day. I sent him a bouquet of roses, a chocolate, and there was supposed to be a card. I never got an answer out of him if the card was actually delivered to, but there was supposed to be a card saying I love you in that package. So as the dung beetle, I said to Sigurd, a lot of times when he expressed being sad and lonely and grieving and needing a hug, I actually, and you know, we lived in separate parts of the country, so I couldn't actually knock on his door and give him a hug. But I said these things as the dung beetle is saying. Sigurd was feeling like dung, he said, and I was being like the dung beetle and said to him that you're a beautiful piece of shit. And but he didn't want to hear it. And it was weird. It was just weird. So, but enough about that. But here comes the point with all I'm saying in this video. And I just have to say before I get to the point, I had a fall on Saturday. So I slipped on some water, probably on the floor. So I am in a lot of pain. I just have to change my position on this chair. Oh my god. I'm doing okay, but it's painful, and I also dissociate from pain, as I am talking about elsewhere. I dissociate from pain, so I probably have more pain down here than I am aware of, so I have to kind of be a bit careful. What was I going to say? Yes, the point of this video. After 20 minutes, we're finally getting to the point, people. My point is that it's very difficult to understand in that group of divorcees who are out on the dating market again and are finding new partners. It can be very difficult to understand what they are actually saying. And then somebody might say that, oh, but it's probably just you and Sigurd, you know, that you are a couple of particularly stupid people. And yeah, that has some valid point in it. But this is very, very, very common humor. This is very, very common things to say among divorcees. And it is a way of managing grief. So the humor is how you manage the grief. So if the humor is there, the grief is there. And this is, sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry, but it's a hard thing to go through to be divorced. And many people in that group too, and maybe especially so-called supporters, friends and family and even therapists, they are very quick to come running with stuff like you need to learn to communicate, or you aren't a good fit, you aren't compatible for each other, you need to go to therapy, or he is a narcissist and she is a borderline and this is a toxic relationship. People are very quick to run to that solution. But in this group of middle-aged divorcees, no matter if they divorced in the beginning of their 30s or if they divorced in their late 50s or beginning of the 60s, this group, this middle group in the society of people having been married once or twice and then they are trying to find a new partner and have found a new partner they are trying to start a new relationship with. In that group, it's just so normal and expected and common and widespread to have this type of communication problem because there is a grieving process there. And that doesn't mean that people shall wait, because that's also a very common thing to say. Oh, but you need to wait until you start dating again. Or the opposite, you need to get out there very quickly and not forget how it is to date. So people will give you the most random advice, and they are so opposite to each other. But yeah, I forgot again what I was talking about. This is the joy of talking a lot and having a dissociative disorder. So I kind of jumped out of my train of thinking here. Yeah, it's common. It's so common. This type of, yes, the grieving period. The reason why we shall not view this grieving period as saying, it doesn't say that you should get quickly out there again to not forget how to date. And it neither says that you have to wait many years until you have found yourself again and you are stopped grieving, you are over your ex and so on. Because grieving after a divorce, just as grieving after any kind of loss, it will last for a lifetime. And for some people it takes a bit longer, for some people it takes a bit shorter, but it's there until you die. It will be there in the back of your mind a tiny bit. All grief is that. I am still grieving my grandparents, and they died many, many years ago, and I'm still grieving that I still miss that life. And that doesn't mean that if anyone showed up with a time machine and said, do you want to go back? No, I don't want to go back. My grandparents weren't, the most lovely people on earth, but I can still miss them, and I can still have fond memories of that time because that's a big part of my life. And the same with my ex-husband. I never want to actually see that shit again. And the internet knows that me and Sverre are not particularly good friends at this moment in time. And so I have no reason whatsoever to have any kind of contact with Sverre. But I can still think about the time of my life where I was married to him and we were together for 12 years. And that's a long time, and a lot of things happen, good and bad, during that time of my life. So I can still grieve that relationship is over, but I'm not in any kind of active crying, active adjustment disorder. I'm not in any kind of wish to go back. It's not that type of grieving that I want to remarry. It just makes me a bit sick to think about. And neither does the thing I did now in this very moment where I said bleh, makes me kind of sick to think about it. Neither is that any kind of sign that I am not over it. Yeah, I'm over it. It's just, but this is how it is to be human. When you are 98, you will still think back on the things that happened in your childhood and be sad because you lost a doll on the bus, or you got a very good grade and you're still very proud of when you did a very good effort in the spelling bee when you were 8 years old. So we think about our life all our life. It won't end until you end. So grief is just a very, very, very normal part of being divorced. It's a very, very normal part of breaking up and moving on and starting new relationships. To start a new relationship doesn't mean that you're over it. To not start a new relationship doesn't either mean that you aren't over it. To start a new relationship, that is a separate thing. That is something that you decide to do because you found another person you like. So to go into a new relationship doesn't actually have anything to do with the previous relationships. You are just a person wanting to have a partner and you found someone you like. So the thing that causes the confusion about this is this kind of thinking that everybody shall be very, spot on with their communication at all times. That if you don't manage to communicate well with your new partner, you are not compatible and you need couples therapy. No. In this segment of the population who are around middle age and they are divorced once or twice, maybe thrice, that segment of the population, they will have a certain type of language. They will have a certain type of expressing themselves and managing their grief. And it's so normal, it's so expected, and it's so common. So to start telling people that they should go to therapy or do something specific to change that, that's just not useful. And it's also pretty cruel to tell someone that something is wrong with them when they are just spot on normal people. That's not okay. Don't do that. Particularly if you are a therapist or a couples therapist or a coach, don't do that. You need to understand how this segment looks. And in Norway, a great way of doing that is to just log on Tinder or some of the other dating apps, but Tinder is probably the most used still in Norway. Just log on to Tinder, make a anonymous account for all I care. Log on to Tinder and just look through them. Look through the segment of people who are divorcees. And just see that, oh my god, every man or woman or non-binary in this age group, they are saying that they are second-hand and used goods. and that they need a dung beetle. This is just normal. You can't take 99% of people aside and say you need individual therapy or you need couples therapy with your new partner because you don't communicate properly. What a load of bullshit, people. So don't do that. In this segment of the population, there will be difficulties. That's just a part of normal life. It's difficult when somebody is grieving. It can be very difficult, as I experienced with my ex Sigurd. It can be difficult to understand, when is he joking? When is he serious? When is he just saying these things, neither because he's needing a laugh, neither because he's needing a hug, but he's just saying it because it's so normal to say. It's like the small talk of the divorcees, it's just so incredibly normal to say. And I ended up very, very confused with Sigurd, but that's it. Yeah, I was confused. Does that mean that me or Sigurd need therapy or couples therapy because of that? No. You just have to expect this from that segment of the population. So particularly if you are a therapist, couples therapist, coach in that area, if you get into your office a divorcee who is on the dating market or is trying to start out a new relationship, or maybe have been in a new relationship for a couple of years, and if they start to talk to you about these communication problems, be aware that they do not have them, because this is a common part of life. This is something we all have to go through. If you are a divorcee, no matter if you're 23 or if you're 103, if you are divorced, there will be a period in your life where you need this language, where this kind of thinking and humor and way of expressing yourself when you need a hug and so on, you are dependent on that type of thinking and speaking to get through this period of your life, and it's normal and it's expected. When you get further away from the divorce, the less likely it is that you will need that type of language and thinking and humor and bits for connection, and that you will slowly change into another way of speaking. And that's okay. It does not mean if you use longer time on that or shorter time on that, it does not mean that you are doing anything wrong. It's a normal part of life. Just like being a teenager is a normal part of life and you shall not send a teenager to therapy just because they are rebellious. It's a natural part of life. You shall neither send a divorcee to therapy because they are doing something wrong. They are not. So you need to know this. Okay, more than 30 minutes I have been talking about this. I hope that I was through everything. So just to sum it up, in a certain period of your life, when you are divorced, you will get into a communication problem, but it's not actually a communication problem. It's something that is expected, normal and common. And if you get one of these people into your office as a therapist, couples therapist and so on, you need to know that this is normal and common, and it just is what it is. You can't change people. You can't change divorced people into being single as if they were 20 again. That's not possible. So yes, the communication problems are there. They will be there. And even though it's a very hard thing to accept that you have gotten into a part of your life where the communication problems will be worse and you can't change that, even though it's hard to accept. It's just how it is. Yeah, life sucks sometimes. That's it. Life sucks sometimes. Okay, I hope this was... Yeah, talk to you later.